All right, let's talk about one of the most confusing topics out there, meat and seafood. One day, red meat is the villain. The next, it's a superfood. So, what's actually true? Today, we're going to cut through all that noise and get a clear, evidence-based look at the meat we eat. You've seen the headlines. I know you have. Eat more fish for your brain. Cut red meat to save your heart. It honestly feels like a nutritional tug of war, and it leaves most of us just standing in the grocery aisle wondering, what should I actually buy? So let's dive in and finally get some real answers. Instead of getting stuck in that simple good versus bad trap, we're going to break this down a different way. We're going to look at this across three crucial nutritional battlegrounds: protein, iron, and, of course, fats. Thinking about it this way is really going to help us see where each one truly shines. Okay, first up, protein. This is the main reason a lot of us eat meat and fish in the first place, right? But how do they really stack up against each other when it comes to protein? Let's find out. So the gold standard we're looking for is something called a complete protein. What that means is the food has all 9 of the essential amino acids. Think of these as the critical building blocks our bodies absolutely need for everything, from repairing muscle to making hormones, but that we just can't make ourselves. We have to get them from food. And here's the big takeaway for this round. It's basically a tie. Seriously, whether you're reaching for beef, chicken, or pretty much any kind of seafood, you're getting a fantastic source of high-quality, complete protein. So if protein is the common ground, the real interesting differences have to be somewhere else. And that brings us to our next battleground, iron. Now this is where things start to get interesting, and it's where red meat, especially beef, really starts to pull ahead of the pack. So check out this number. A study from PubMed Central found something pretty incredible. A group eating beef had a 3 to 4 times greater intake of, and this next word is everything, bioavailable iron than a vegetarian group. That word, bioavailable, is the absolute key. See, it's not just about how much iron is in the food, it's about how much your body can actually absorb and put to work. This study shows it perfectly. The diet with beef didn't just have more usable iron, it actually led to measurable increases in key blood markers like hemoglobin over 12 weeks. The vegetarian diet, even with the similar total amount of iron, just didn't have that same impact. And this isn't just a one-off finding. A huge meta-analysis from Oxford, that's where they combine the results from lots of high-quality studies, confirmed it. Eating more red meat has a consistent positive effect on your hemoglobin levels. And if you look at longer studies, it also boosts what's called serum ferritin, which is basically your body's long-term iron savings account. The bottom line is clear. For iron your body can actually use, red meat has a major advantage. But hold on, the story is not over. Let's pivot to our final category, fats, because this is where seafood, particularly the fatty fish, gets its moment to shine. We're talking specifically about a family of fats called omega-3s. These are essential, meaning our bodies can't make them, so we have to get them from our diet. And the types of omega-3s you find in fish, EPA and DHA, are absolute powerhouses. They're directly linked to things like heart health and, critically, brain health. While you can get a different kind of omega-3 from plants, it's really hard for our bodies to convert it into these super useful forms. And the importance of DHA for our brains just can't be overstated. This quote from Harvard School of Public Health is, well, it's pretty powerful. They found significantly lower levels of DHA, the very fat that's packed into seafood, in the brains of patients with Alzheimer's. And this points to a unique, vital role that fatty fish can play in our long-term cognitive health. Okay, so red meat for iron, fatty fish for omega-3s. Simple, right? Well, not so fast. Here's where the plot really thickens, because we're about to find out that it's not just about the animal, it's about what the animal ate. Let's look at this fascinating study on bison. They compared animals that were finished on grain to those finished on grass, and the results might actually surprise you. The grain-finished meat was higher in total fat, cholesterol, and even a bit higher in protein. This is proof positive that an animal's diet fundamentally changes the food that ends up on your plate. But this right here, this is the most important difference. This chart shows the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. Now, all you need to know is that a lower ratio is much healthier and less inflammatory. And look at that. The grass-finished bison has a significantly better, healthier fat profile. The takeaway? How it's raised can be just as important as what it is. Now for one last plot twist. We can't talk about meat without tackling the big concern: processed meats and nitrates, which we hear a lot about. But where do you think most of the nitrates in our diet actually come from? The answer is probably not what you think. Okay, just look at this data. Yeah, ham and bacon have nitrates, you can see them there. But now, compare those numbers to vegetables like carrots, celery, and onions. It's not even in the same ballpark. Research shows that a staggering 80 to 90% of the nitrates we eat actually come from vegetables. It's a stunning piece of information that really reframes that whole conversation. So, after navigating all of that data, all the twists and turns, what's the big takeaway here? Well, it's that you have the power to make incredibly smart choices just by asking the right questions. Here's a simple 3-step toolkit you can use anytime. First, consider the nutrient you're after. Do you need that super bioavailable iron from red meat, or are you focused on the brain-healthy omega-3s from fatty fish? Second, consider the source. Like we saw with the bison, grass finishing can make a huge difference in the fat profile. And third, consider the preparation. Baking or grilling is a whole different world from deep frying something. So in the end, the conclusion isn't that one type of meat is good and another is bad. The real story, the more useful story, is that not all meat is created equal. The choices we make about the type, the source, and the preparation are what really, truly matter. So the real question is, knowing all this, how will you build your next plate? Thanks for tuning in.